Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. I'm Hani Fatihah from BA2324B.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Dayang Nursyafiqah Binti Muas. So today we would like to review some articles that we have cited. Here are the reasons why we choose the article. Number one, to have the details on how Electronic Records Management System (ERMS) works in government offices. Technology has affected the implementation of systems for ERMS in government offices. However, the adoption and the use of these programmers has been slow in introducing ERMS, and some systems have failed despite the potential advantages of this system. The article we chose elaborated more on how ERMS works in a particular organization using the quotas model. The effective tool in adopting these programs is communication. However, the related organization has not yet managed to reinforce the change due to lack of adequate training and motivation to change. Number two, to know how records management component provide access to certain process in the institution. Record management component like record schedule, record appraisal, destroyed or dispose, retain, training of staff on the management of a process reveals that this record component did not function well in the management processes. More attention needs to be given towards the skills in handling institutional records. For example, the training should be given as part of the management of records to avoid unnecessary work, duplication of documents, and many more. To explore the record management practices in a record management company. Number 3. The company offers cost-effective, reliable, and secure services in tackling the complex records management challenges. From the article, we analyzed that the company has its own policy, procedure, and guidance distributed to the staff in every department. The company utilizes every track record they have, used and referred as daily routine. Meanwhile, record inventory ranged from internal and external records, and it were kept by parent company. All in all, the record management practices in Company A is undeniably beyond perfect due to its policy, procedure, and guidance.
Moving on to the next part, I will explain on the issues, problems, objectives and discussion from the cited articles. The authors of the articles had clearly stated the problems or issues in the articles which they are focusing on. As a matter of fact, the authors are trying to convey the issue first before they start to move to another part. There are some issues related to the lack of policy guidelines and also high incidence of poor service delivery. The authors have decided to take these issues or problems into a further study, which at the end they could retrieve a key finding from the problems stated above. The first objective of this study is to investigate the records management practices in one of record management company in Malaysia in terms of their confidentiality and code of work ethics in handling a record. Second objective is to appraise records management element and to determine the dimensions of which it is complies with the record management policy. It is also highlighted that the purpose of this study is to know more on standard guidelines which is being used by records management professional, whether it is being used locally or internationally. And the last objective of this study is to know how Telok Wenglan Board implemented their electronic record management program using certain model. Moving on to the discussions of the findings. Firstly, some are using interview method. As stated by Dang M. Hashim 2018, they clearly underlined that they had an interview conducted to collect the data. This is because the company itself has its own policy, procedures, and guidance, familiar with the concepts of regulation when creating a record, inventory, record schedules, storage, and other important record component. The second discussion is using questionnaire as a method. A According to Grant 2020, the authors are using questionnaire method to collect the data. From the questionnaire, the authors can conclude that the employees did possess specific element when experiencing change, including resistance. The last discussion is the practical use of standards and good practice guidelines. It is clearly stated by the author in his discussion from his article that the practical use of standards and good practice guidelines is related to the management of digital records from varieties perspectives and from around the world.
As we can see from article cited from Dang M. Hashim, it is all in the neighborhood of records management company based in Malaysia. The authors had highlighted the importance of protecting the records by using a systematic records management. The definition of records management is a general administrative management which concerned with achieving economy and efficiency in the records lifecycle. It is absolutely different with the meaning of business records management. As we all know, business records management is a field of management responsibility for the efficient and systematic control of the creation, maintenance, use and disposition of business records. Next, as claimed by Nursyafiqah, the author shows up the main point of the article. The article is all about the policy or guideline to manage the records. In academic point of view, records professionals should manage the records according to the regulatory requirements, whether it is international or national. It is to help organizations stay within the policies and procedures of the country they are operating in regarding the retention of information. In Malaysia, we have MAMPU, Malaysian Administrative Modernization and Management Planning Unit. And in international, we have International Standard ISO 15489. Subsequently, in the opinion of Katu, the author had clearly stated that it is important to implement standards and good practice guidelines in handling records. This is to make sure the records are being stored or being filed in a proper way so that it will be retrieved easily. As a matter of academic facts, there are regulatory requirements. Consider the following. Number 1. Statute and case laws and regulations governing the sector-specific and general business environment, including laws and regulations relating specifically to records, archives, access, privacy, evidence, and so on. Number 2. Mandatory standards of practices. Number 3. Voluntary codes of conduct and ethics. Number 4. Voluntary codes of best practice. And number 5. Identifiable expectations of the community about what is acceptable behavior for the specific sector or organization. Followed by Grant. They are focusing on electronic records management system. They assume that a key factor that put pressure on the government is the high incidence of poor service delivery in government agencies. So, they come out with quotas model which they want to see how long it can implement.
In conclusion, this study has provided empirical evidence of the management of business records mainly in organization and institution. One of the purpose is to investigate the record management practices in one of record management company in Malaysia in terms of their confidentiality and code of work ethics in handling a record. The company has its own policy, procedures and guidance which familiar with the concept and regulation when creating a record, storing a record, maintaining a record, appraise a record, and other record component.